Okay, hello everyone. This is going to be my first video on this channel. This is my first time that I'm doing something like this. I'm making this video because I feel like I've made some decent progress in the gym recently, and for the longest time, I really struggled to um, put on size, to get the basics right, to really understand what proper nutrition was, what proper training looked like. And I see a lot of people on the internet with a similar lack of focus, lack of consistency, and hence they struggle to put on size to build the body they want, and and eventually some will either give up or hop on steroids and regret it later on, or not. But I think there is a niche for videos and people to give advice, real advice, to what I think is a largely misinformed, underinformed, and um, struggling training community on the internet. I think one of the big challenges with fitness influencers, uh, YouTube in general, just the internet in general, is that you well, first of all, a lot of people start training because they want to build a bigger body, and I was like that. I still am, and a lot of that carries with it body image issues and a kind of people have a picture in their mind of what they want to look like. That person will probably be someone who is already on the internet, probably a public figure, probably one of these Olympias, who are all on steroids. And I think wrestlers or even Olympic athletes or whatever professional athletes. So I think right, and also Hollywood actors. It's not very often spoken about, but the Dream Factory is definitely a well. There's pressure to build this Hollywood physique, and I think when young men and women see these bodies on television, there is this impression that this is what men look like. This is what men should look like. We certain people who grew up with these action figures, these male Barbie dolls. They're all muscle bound. They all look a certain way. They have a certain shape, a V taper, and I think men and again women do go into this. I don't know if it's a sport, but this hobby, thinking that they're going to look a certain way and it within a certain time, and they might be disappointed with the results. So I think it's important first to dispel that. I think that's a separate video, but first of all, it's important to recognize that building muscle is a very slow process. It's a process that demands consistency and attention to training and diet. Now, I have a little script here just so you might see some flashing, but just so you know what I'm looking at. Um, I am by no means an expert. I'm not a licensed coach. I just am a person. I'm just a concerned citizen. I'm a person who has gone to the gym for, okay, so I'm 29 now. Uh, can't believe it, but yeah. I probably some people might not be able to believe it because I look young, but okay, so I'm 29. I started lifting when I was 20 in college, very skinny, like 172 centimeters. I was, God, I don't even know how much I weighed, but I was very skinny, ribs and all. No ribs now, only obliques. But I wanted to change that. And again, I'm not an expert, but I think I've been doing this for long enough that I've seen some things that do work, I've seen things that don't work, and I always wish that there had been someone who would have just kind of looked back and reached out, given a helping hand to help me make the same progress, just to kind of refocus my energy, to point me in the right direction. Because again, it's amazing that there are resources like fitness influencers and YouTube videos out there, because a lot of these magazines, like the Men's Health magazine, they're not really producing information that is in your best interest. They're producing information that is sensational and that is going to get you to buy the magazine. So they're going to have some, incredible physique on the cover, and you're going to buy it, and it's going to be like this routine that might not work for you, depending what your stage is. So there's a lot of information out there. Some of it is good, some of it is bad. I think the information that I have gleaned is good. It's probably not complete. Actually, it isn't. But I'm doing my best to read and learn as much as I can from reputable sources, which I think that's another video, is how to identify a source that is reputable. But having someone that is farther along the line, like a teacher, like a coach, is very useful to give context to a hobby. I still don't know if it's a sport or not, but a hobby for now that is confusing. It is not clear cut. There is a lot of different things work for different people. There are a lot of variations in programs. There's a lot of variation in nutrition, and it's not always clear why that is. So at least for me, I like to think of myself as a logical person, or at least I like logical things. I'm saying that, but this video might be all over the place. But having context for what this is all about, I think, is really helpful. Because if someone looks, for example, I think one of the distractions, especially early on, not even early on, but all the time, especially now with social media like TikTok, you're going to see an exercise that is like super weird, super cool, and the guy is jacked, and you're going to want to do the same thing because he's jacked, and his body is, or her body is, the resume. That's her credential. And you're going to want to look like them, probably, because you're trying to get bigger, you're trying to look amazing. And you're going to get the false idea that this person looks like that because they're doing this exotic exercise. And I think other YouTubers have talked about this, but I don't think they stress enough how the exercise selection doesn't really matter. I mean, yes, to an extent it does, and that's probably sounds very confusing, but things like, I don't know, like a front plate raise where you're lifting the 45-pound plate like this, and you're bringing it in and out and back up, and I don't know, maybe it's an amazing exercise, but what I will say is that a dumbbell front raise is going to do, just something like this is going to do just fine, and that'll blow up your anterior delts, your front shoulders, and that'll do just fine. And you don't have to worry about these exotic exercises. Really, the difference is if you do these things for long enough and you progress in those weights. And like, just I shouldn't drill down into this exercise too much, but I will digress. the problem with that is that you can't really, with this plate front raise, is that you can't really progress in that exercise very much, right? If you start with a 25-pound plate or whatever, you can't go to 27.5, or maybe you can if you tie a rope to it or something. But progression is really important in lifting, and people who look at this information, like whatever the influencers with these exotic exercises, or the influencers who tell you how to make a certain protein shake, and it's this many gram. I mean, I remember watching a YouTube video. It was like, to make your homemade mass gainer, and it was like this much peanut butter, this much oatmeal, this much milk, and I followed that to the gram, and I wouldn't deviate because I thought that would mess up my gains. And nutrition, again, the diet, that's a whole different video. It's a huge conversation, and there is great information out there. But I think it's one of these things that are really easy to mess up. I think there's insufficient literacy in the public on what good diet is, and like what a macronutrient is, what a micronutrient is, and how to gain weight, or how to bulk, how to cut. And so I think, especially when you're starting out, and I really did this, I focused on the minutia, like really, like how many grams of peanut butter should I have in this oatmeal, in this mass gainer that I found on YouTube. And once you understand that, what a macronutrient is, how certain foods can fit into your diet, and others might exceed your budget for the day or for the week if you're being more flexible. It's a distraction to go on whatever men's health YouTube channel and find that, I don't know, the Conor McGregor ate mushrooms instead of I don't know, spinach, and so like mushrooms are somehow like you'll look like Conor McGregor if you eat mushrooms, and that's just not the case. Diet is much more flexible, even if you're not training, even if you're just trying to lose weight or gain weight, build muscle, or whatever your physique goals are. Nutrition is very flexible, and also like you have these like again these Hollywood celebrities who they'll go on these talk shows and they talk about how they ate chicken, broccoli, and rice every day, six meals a day for 6 months, and that's how they look like Tarzan, like this whatever, Alex Skarsgård or whoever, and I think or underinformed people will look at that and say, well, that's what I have to do. And again, I think the muscle, the speed at which Hollywood celebrity actors gain muscle should not be used as you shouldn't compare yourself to that, because first of all, it's their job, and they're probably on something, and they have these specialized coaches, and it's just not realistic for most people. I mean, most people have a full-time job, and they have to balance multiple priorities in their life. So it's important to kind of scale back and look at your own life and identify what's possible. Anyway, so there's absolutely a lot of misinformation out there, and I just kind of want to dispel some of these things. It was to the point where like my progress halted to the point where I felt like I was doing something totally wrong. I was like, for example, I would go into the gym, I would eat, so I would train, I would diet, and I thought I was doing enough, and I wouldn't grow, and I didn't know why. And I got to the point where I thought that the people who were big, the people who did have muscle, even the natural athletes, like they were doing something different. Like it wasn't, I didn't have to go into the gym to lift. Like that wasn't like lifting weights wasn't what built muscle. It was like something else. Like they went into some there was like some secret sport that these athletes would do that was a secret to me, that wasn't put on YouTube, that's what really built them muscle. And then they would go on YouTube and then just say that lifting was that built muscle. I don't know if I'm making myself clear. It's like they had this secret sauce, secret sport that they would play, that would make them buff, and I was doing just the wrong thing. Well, turns out it lifting does build muscle, but what I was doing wrong, and I said I have been lifting for almost 10 years, 9 years now, was that it was very on and off for me. I would work really hard for 3 days, and then I would miss a week. So believe it or not, whatever you see on YouTube, whatever you see on Men's Health, if you find a routine that you really like, fine. It might not be optimal, might not be the greatest thing ever, but honestly, if you do it, if you're starting out every other day, if you're kind of farther along the line, then I don't know, like 2 days on, 2 days off, or if you're more advanced, even longer, more frequently. So consistency, like that word, I will say over and over again, is key to building a physique that you're proud of. Some of the top natural bodybuilders, they don't miss a day. If they have children, if they have jobs, they'll prioritize those. Like there's this one natural bodybuilder who I really admire. This Brian Whitaker. He talked about how his priorities were his family first, his job second, and bodybuilding third. And even though it's only third down the line, he did everything he could to make it happen. So if he went on a business trip, he would find a gym near his hotel, or identify a hotel that was near a gym. If he wasn't confident in the food options, or if he was preparing for a competition, he would bring his own food. So oatmeal, protein powder, nuts for his 3 macros. So he could guarantee that he was getting everything he needed. It's not exciting. It's not fun, but just to give you an idea of how to prepare for every eventuality, how to commit to the gym, how to keep yourself accountable in any situation. When you're in the middle of a move, when you are between jobs, when you are between houses, when you're whatever, it's really important to be consistent, and that is where you will see the most progress. There's a lot there, and a lot more to talk about. But I wish someone had told me that earlier, that consistency really is as important as it is. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what exercise you do. The diet does matter, as you know, if you're eating too much, you'll just put on more adipose than you want to. But in general, if you get some of the basics right, the training, the diet, that'll get you so far. And I think, again, one of the reasons why I thought these top bodybuilders were doing a different sport. They were doing something like that this going to the gym thing was a smoke and mirrors charade. Was that there is a fair bit of variability in what these athletes do in the gym. So some will say use machines, some will say don't use machines, some will say squat every day, some will say no, use the leg press. So there's a lot of conflicting information out there to the point where it really is baffling. And I wish just someone had told me that, it is does, you shouldn't pay attention to that. You should just focus on what you're doing, focus on your progress, focus on what you look like, not what someone else looks like, and just focusing on your own journey. So consistency is huge. So yeah, I do want to talk about diet and training in another video. I just wanted to put this out there because there are people out there who are where you are, or have been where you are. Maybe you think you're confused, dazzled by all of the information that's out there, and that, I mean, I'm still dazzled by all the information that's out there, even more so all the misinformation that's out there. So I'll try to do my best to provide good information. I'll try to do so consistently, just like with the gym. One last thing I'll say before I close is if you are relatively inexperienced, or even if you are experienced and you do have a good amount of training under your belt, I would recommend a coach. It is expensive for most people, but I think a coach, and I would say really do your research. So looking for a coach involves looking at their Instagram. What do they look like? What do their trainees look like? What kind of information are they posting? What do they have certifications? Of course, price is going to factor into these things. It doesn't have to be a celebrity influencer or YouTube influencer. A lot of them do offer coaching or some kind of alternative coaching service, but just because someone has a ton of views doesn't mean that they know what they're talking about. Unfortunately, this is like a big misconception with, I mean, not just in fitness, but in all aspects of life. There's this misconception that people with a large base have some kind of authority over a subject, and that's just not true. If it were true, we'd be in trouble. But needless to say, identify coaches based on their physique of their athletes, their certifications, what kind of information are they putting out. I think that will be huge. It's basically what I'm going to try to do with this channel. It's just try to address misconceptions, outline what a diet looks like, what training looks like, and try to refocus some of the attention that we've somehow misdirected towards, what kind of lateral raise we should use, whether it's pinkies up or pinkies down, or whether it's mushrooms or tomatoes that we should be eating, which is, I can't believe I mean, I shouldn't laugh because some of you might be struggling with these same things, but I think it's important to have someone in your life who is able to refocus your energy into the important things, which are going to be sticking to the diet plan, sticking to your training routine, being consistent with that, progressing with that, and spending the rest of your day doing whatever else, reading a book, doing a good job at your job, or investing in your relationships, because bodybuilding should not take up your life. So I'll close with that. Hopefully there will be more videos, and I'll be able to help some people along the way. Yeah, good luck.